okay, you will actually see that these mountains have burn marks.
Which verse is this?
This is in Exodus chapter 19, okay, and verse 16, I guess you could say. And it came to be on the third day of the morning that there were thunder and lightning and a thick cloud in the mountains, and the voice of a shofar was very strong, and all the people who were in the camp trembled. So basically, God is speaking, and the people they're trembling, they're afraid. Moshe brought the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood at the foot of the mountain, and the Mount Sinai was in smoke, all of it, because Yahweh descended upon it in fire, and its smoke went up like the smoke of a furnace, and all the mountain trembled exceedingly. So some of the historical books and some of the, how do you put it,
those books there, yeah.
Oral tradition basically says that the rocks literally cracked, popped
from the sound of his voice.
From the sound of God's voice, just pop, crack. Like you can just imagine. I mean, it even says in some of those historical books that the cows were just giving birth, and women were just going into labor, and because the voice of God, the voice that gives life, that basically gave life through all of the universe, suddenly is speaking in this area. So you can just imagine it has so much life in that voice that there's just a lot happening. Not only that, but when you look at it here, it says all the mountains trembled exceedingly, and that God came and descended like in a fire, and there was smoke. Well, I have here in my margin, it says mountains was burnt up, has burnt marks to this day. If I went on actual Google Earth and I zoomed into the area, and all the top of the mountains, that area specifically, you can see that it's black. It's burnt on Google Earth. It's all burnt up. And then they'll say, oh, God doesn't exist. It never really happened. Really? Go on Google Earth. Check this out. That's like pretty interesting when you see that Mount Sinai is all burnt up. Like a whole area.
That's crazy.
And you have historical evidence in the Bible that of something that happened there. Now you're looking at the smoke. Well, of course, they kind of go hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
So anyways, and then the voice of the shofar sounded long and became very strong. Moshe spoke, and Elohim answered him by voice. I think that is just amazing to think that the people who were there heard God speak. They literally heard his voice. And it says that they were so afraid, and I'm going to paraphrase the rest here, but it basically says that they basically said they were so afraid, they said, okay, we've had enough. We don't want him to talk to us anymore. We're too afraid. You go and talk to him. We'll stay down here and you go.
Wow.
And
so that's why he went up the mountain.
And then Moses went up the mountain and then got given the 10 Commandments, came back down. So it's interesting because, here we are in a generation where people go, oh, I know God, or I want to believe God, or I live with God, or I do this. But if they really heard God's voice, these people really heard God's voice and they were terrified. And I think that we've been sold a bill of goods where, we have a little fancy little savior. Oh, yeah, you don't worry. God is so full of love. Yeah, he's full of love and he's full of life. But are you really ready for love? Are you really ready for life? Because it's powerful. More powerful than just, goody two-shoes people doing good things or having, what do you call that? Not philanthropists, but people who are humanitarian. Like we think, oh, those people really love, and those people have fruits, and they do all these things for the people.
But they don't know God a lot of times.
Correct.
Some of them do,
but imagine if they really spoke out of love and really embodied love. Love is very powerful. It's a little bit more powerful than what people think.
And love doesn't tolerate sin.
Bingo. And sin can't live in that area at all.
No.
So if you're full of sin and you have sin and then you have love, Well, you want to be loved. Well, you're going to have to get rid of something. You
Mhm.
either get rid of the sin, or you're going to have to eventually get rid of the love. You're either going to miss out on the love. I guess let's rephrase it more like this. You're going to miss out on the love, or you're going to have to get rid of the sin. But if you embrace the sin, you miss out on the love. If you embrace love, you have to get rid of that.
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
Yeah, but the reality is when you get rid of sin, you're not missing anything good.
No,
so
you're not.
You're not actually losing in the end.
Correct. You're not going to lose out on anything, because you're going to end up with the creator of the universe who's going to love you. And man, the love I see throughout the rest of this book is unbelievable, and what God did for us in the Old and in the New Testament.
Yeah. And it all goes together.
Yeah.
One big love story.
One big love story. All of it.
Yeah.
And we can never give up. We have to just keep pushing and get to know him more. And even a little verse like this, pay attention, go on Google Earth if you have to. Check out these mountains, and they're burnt up.
Yeah, and what part of the world are they in? Is it Mount Sinai? So that's in Egypt now?
No,
or
it's not. It's in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
The peninsula, basically.
And isn't the Ark also in the Turkish mountains?
Yeah.
That's a whole different discussion.
That's a whole different discussion, but you can actually see some outlines of an old ship.
Wow.
That is still there, basically.
So. Wow. Thanks, honey.
You're welcome.